If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 40 The Hero Killer 2. So this is Stain. Yuda, or rather, the shadow clone wearing the makeshift vigilante guise, took a slow measure of the man before him. Stain looked exactly like the reports said, lean, wiry, wrapped in red and black rags. Eyes sharp to a predatory point. Every muscle coiled, and eyes like that of a fanatic. The katana was a grim extension of his will, and the collected air of bloodlust around him was almost physical, thick and suffocating like a gas leak. Calm. Calm. He thought, resisting the urge to clench his fists. Even with nearly a month of buffer time in between, the impulse to tear into the hero killer wasn't going anywhere. He could control his expression, his tone, even the micro-movements of his facial muscles. But the intent, the heavy, suppressed part of a person that wanted violence, was harder. He pushed it down. This is a clone body with limited chakra. Fragile. Even with my quirk, one fatal hit and I'm done. Vengeance was a slippery slope. And now as a clone, he had limits. Killing Stain here, with no real plan, no backup, no certainty, was close to impossible. And wrong. His mother wouldn't forgive that line being crossed. Had it been a month ago, perhaps he wouldn't have been able to control himself. It was different now. He wasn't here to kill Stain, neither was he sure he could do it. Revenge would come, but it wasn't happening today. The main reason for this confrontation was twofold: to save Ingenium from being crippled and to gather actionable intelligence on Stain's current strength and combat style. TCH. To think even with the whole incident, Ingenium still found Stain. I was almost too late. In the distance, Stain's eyes narrowed. Your dressing doesn't look like a pro's. Who are you? The masked man cracked his knuckles, a casual, almost bored gesture. An old friend. I don't have any friends. Stain's voice was as flat as iron as he raised his sword. If you're not a pro, then you're not my target. I'll give you a chance. Leave now. Sorry, can't chizome. Stain's pupils shrank into slits. You know me. Intimately, he answered. And not at all. Stain's grip tightened on the katana. Very well then. He moved. Die. A sudden, explosive snap of motion trained from years of murdering people who moved slower than thought. The blade whipped toward the masked man's throat. Yuda's body leaned left by a hair. The steel sliced the air a millimeter from his neck. Stain didn't pause. His other hand drew a blade low from his ribs and sliced upward. Thud. A palm caught the wrist mid-strike. The katana came back around in a horizontal arc. Another hand rose, deflecting it by the flat, not the edge. Yuda's eyes, hidden beneath the contact lenses he wore, had turned into a three-tomo Sharingan. He's fast. But I can see it. The precognition wasn't perfect. It showed intent, trajectory, the micro-shifts in muscle tension that preceded movement. But his body still had to react. With his previous encounter with Overhaul, and the hospitalization afterwards, he had no time to focus on exercising his physique. However, while physically weak, he could still do wonders when enhanced with chakra. Good move. Feeling the strength pushing against him, Stain commented and shifted his stance. Yuda was caught off guard as Stain pulled back, then attacked again. 3 strikes, feints mixed with real intent. Left shoulder. Right thigh. Center mass. Yuda sidestepped the first, twisted away from the second, and threw a kitchen knife to intercept the third. Clang. Steel met cheap iron. Stain's blade knocked the kitchen knife aside and slashed where Yuda stood a moment ago. He body flickered backward, boots skidding across the concrete as he put 5 meters between them. That speed. Stain's eyes narrowed even further. A teleportation quirk. He muttered. Yuda didn't respond, replaying every scene in his mind with precise accuracy. That was actually better than I thought it would be. The thought gave the clone a momentary, cold surge of confidence. His physical body was currently underdeveloped, but the raw speed granted by chakra-enhanced reflexes and the Shunshin technique was enough to compensate for his utter lack of combat training. He saw the danger, and the chakra moved him to evade it. 2 paces behind him, Ingenium watched with wide eyes. Who is he? Impressive. Stain didn't attack immediately. Even though your movements show that you lack formal training. To predict my attacks and react appropriately shows your fighting instinct is superb. Stain lowered his center of gravity, blade angled down in a predatory line. But instinct alone won't save you. He dashed forward with explosive speed, swinging his katana. He's faster. Yuda's Sharingan tracked his movements and dodged the strike. Stain seemed to expect it. This time, he replied not just in speed but on complex, unpredictable movements, mixing the flat of the blade with the edge, aiming to confuse and expose. Each move was predicted and dodged in advance. Good combat instincts. Stain thought. But your agility isn't enough. He lunged with the katana low, then feinted a retreat, only to transition instantly into a high slash with his short blade aimed at the masked man's neck. Whoosh! The attack hit nothing but air. Tch. That again. Stain frowned as Yuda emerged in the air. Several blades shot towards him. He brings cutlery to fight a killer. The hero killer swatted them aside. He was running out of time. At the beginning, he sought a single cut to end this, but the masked man had proved more capable than expected. Fast, strong, and able to react to his attacks. His quirk made him invulnerable to a quick kill. Heroes were searching for him throughout Hosu. If he stayed here, he would be surrounded. That's enough. His earlier intention to leave Ingenium alive evaporated. He needed to end this now. Stain quickly ripped a throwing knife from his belt and hurled it straight at Ingenium's paralyzed body. The blade flew true, aimed for the head. Ingenium, still regaining feeling, felt a cold dread of imminent death. Shnk. The knife stopped a centimeter from Ingenium's skull, caught in the gloved hand of the masked man, who had shunshed from 5 meters away to stand directly in front of the fallen hero. Got him. Stain's eyes narrowed in satisfaction. His intention had been clear, Ingenium was bait. The masked man wanted the hero alive. Stain rushed forward, covering the distance in an instant, katana raised for a final, overhead slash. Let's see how you get out of this one. Just as his blade descended, the 6 kitchen knives Yuda had thrown out earlier, knives scattered and embedded in the concrete, suddenly shot out from their scattered locations. They zipped across the pavement, their trajectories bending toward the advancing hero killer. Stain was stunned. A quirk of telekinesis? He tried to adjust his body to defend, the surprise momentarily costing him speed. He succeeded. Managing to defend 2 aimed at his vital spots, but the rest sank in, 1 in his shoulder, 1 in his side, and 2 in his thighs. Pain shot through his body, quickly suppressed by his mental fortitude and years of training. However, in that split second before he could recover, Yuda appeared right in front of him, having used the knife distraction to close the gap with a shunshin. A chakra-enhanced and chakra-condensed punch shot out, carrying a focused, pressurized force of pure energy. It landed squarely in Stain's face, a sickening crack. Whump! Stain was launched backward like a cannonball. Success! Yuda thought, feeling the immense power of the strike ripple through his arm. However, even as he flew backward, Stain, driven by pure instinct and fanaticism, shot his spike boots upward. The sharp point of the toe was aimed to pierce Yuda's hand, the hand that had just delivered the blow. Yuda saw it clearly. The precognition of the Sharingan showed the spikes impacting his wrist. But the body flicker technique was already spent on the advance, and the sheer speed of Stain's counter was too fast for his untrained body to completely evade. Stain crashed to the floor, rolling twice before stabilizing himself against the alley wall. At the same instant, Yuda's body gave out under the fatal damage. The masked man's form dissolved in a bright cloud of smoke. Ingenium's eyes widened. He exploded. Stain's gaze swept to his feet, expecting to see a pool of blood to lick up, desperate for the paralysis agent to take hold. However, nothing was there. What the? His gaze snapped back to the dissipating smoke. As the white cloud cleared, Yuda was still standing there. He was whole, except for his right arm, the one that had delivered the punch, which was gone from the elbow down, having been the part that took the spike boots damage. Silence filled the alley. Until... well... that sucks. Chapter 41 The Hero Killer 3. In the world of Naruto, the Shadow Clone Jutsu was particularly inconsistent. In most fights, it was especially fragile, dissipating with a blunt force attack. In others, it was durable enough to throw hands with cages and gods. Yuda had figured out the mechanics after gaining it himself. It ultimately all scales to chakra amount. Shadow clones would dissipate once struck hard enough, and any deep wounds would cause the same effect. The more chakra the clone had, the easier it was to withstand said damage. No wonder normal jonin hardly ever used it. Besides the drawback of having to evenly split your chakra, it couldn't even take a really good hit without strong reinforcement. Lucky me. I'm special. He watched as smoke drifted around the severed stump of his arm. Still, I never expected the sensation to be so lifelike. The shadow clone was essentially a jutsu that created copies of your physical likeness using nothing but chakra. Once the equilibrium of the technique was shaken by a strong enough intrusion, the chakra would riot and break apart in a split second. What Yuda had done was simple. Force that equilibrium back into place using his quirk. As expected. A clone's structural integrity drops sharply after major impact. Chakra density too low to regenerate the limb. I'll have to make do. Well. That sucks. Ingenium stiffened at the familiar words. I've heard that before. He remembered. The voice from the comms when Torque warned about the infiltrator. It was the same words, with the same voice. It's him. Yuda didn't notice Tensei's reaction. Stain's last-minute strike had forced him to divert his attention from controlling the blades embedded into his body to stabilize his clone body. Barely a second, but a second in a battle could turn the tides. Push. Yuda's chakra flowed in large amounts as he willed the blades to drill in deeper. Squelch. Blood spurted. However, two hands clamped onto the weapons on Stain's upper body before they could do more damage. Enough. Then pulled them out forcefully, tearing bone and flesh in the process. Yuda's mind moved. The earlier deflected knives flew upward and shot towards him, while the blades still in Stain's thighs pierced deeper. Get out of my way already. Ignoring the pain, Stain drew 3 throwing knives and threw them at the enemy. 2 collided with Yuda's weapons and the last went straight for Yuda's chest. TCH. Yuda clicked his tongue and dodged. In that moment, Stain retreated, forcefully pulling the knives out of his legs and slamming them against the ground. The blades shattered into pieces. It was a kitchen knife after all. The marked knives knocked away by Stain course-corrected back to its target. Even with his legs injured, Stain leapt away. Seriously? Yuda thought, sweat accumulating on his forehead. He wanted to control more to attack, only to feel the strain increase to manipulate them. It seems, I'm out. He frowned behind his mask. Normally, this wouldn't be an issue. Though surprisingly better, he had never expected to beat Stain easily with a clone body to begin with. He had come with the mentality of a test run to get a grasp of the hero killer's strength for the next confrontation. Beat him if you can, gather experience if you can't. It ultimately didn't matter whether he died here. It was just a clone disguised using his quirk. There was just one problem. Ingenium was still paralyzed. Crack. In the distance, Stain embedded his sword into the wall and stood on it. The searing pain flooding through his muscles were suppressed by his excellent muscle control and sheer mental fortitude. Damn it. The fact he could still his arms and legs after such damage was astonishing. However, willpower was ultimately willpower. It didn't change the fact that he was bleeding out in torrents at the moment and his muscles ached beyond belief. His speed and power had been compromised, while a lesser man would have fallen already. I have to hand it to you. Stain uttered with cold eyes. You're more troublesome than I imagined. Blood flowed from his wounds, forming a small puddle on the pavement beneath him. His quirk is different from what I initially anticipated. What's worse, I can't get any blood from him. Blood dripped steadily from as he stared down at the masked vigilante. His breaths came ragged, but his eyes didn't waver. TCH. He tasted iron. Too much of it. This body won't last much longer, he muttered to himself. His gaze shifted to Ingenium, still frozen on the ground. You're alive today by circumstance, Stain said. His voice dropped into a rasp. Not because you deserve to be. Ingenium tried to speak but failed, only able to glare up at him. Count yourself lucky, Ingenium. Learn from this experience, and spread the good word, Stain continued, looming over him from the wall he stood on. Me. The next time we cross paths, you will be called. As for you. His attention returned to Yuda. You're no hero, but I can see the conviction in your eyes. That alone makes you a worthy opponent. Yuda's face frowned even more. Before he could say anything, Stain leaped upwards, climbing the buildings with rapid speed for his injuries and landing on the roof. Before sheathing his sword. Let's decide our fate another time. This battle is over. Those were his last words before vanishing over the rooftops. Yuda didn't move to stop him. The masked man stood in the center of the alley, the scent of fresh blood thick in the air. The stump of his right arm pulsed, the chakra working frantically to seal the structure before the whole clone dispersed. Final analysis, Stain is a powerhouse of speed and pain tolerance. His primary weakness is his quirk's prerequisite ingesting blood. Yuda mentally reviewed the fight. The kinetic energy from the chakra punch alone would have shattered the face of a normal person, yet Stain had survived the damage and somehow had the clarity to try to counter. And, I'm out of chakra, he confirmed. The energy cost had been astronomical, multiple shunshin uses, localized self-repair, and continuous chakra manipulation of the knives. He only had half his regular chakra capacity, and part of it had gone to maintaining his very form since its creation. He had enough power left for one more action, maximum. Let's get this over with. He turned toward Ingenium. The hero was still down, but his fingers were twitching. He's alive. Good. Yuda dropped to one knee beside the paralyzed hero, placing his remaining hand on Tensei's shoulder. Stay with me, Yuda said quietly. The paralysis will wear off in a few minutes. Just breathe. Ingenium's breath hitched not from pain, but realization. You. His voice struggled out, rigid. You were, in the comms. Ah. So he noticed. Yuda looked away. This really isn't the time. Who are you? Tensei managed, fingers twitching faintly as the paralysis began to lose its grip. Vigilante, hero, what? Yuda didn't answer, currently considering whether to take Ingenium away from the alley or leave him here. Meanwhile, in the sky. Whoosh! The distinct, loud rush of compressed air signaled the rapid arrival of the cavalry. In the distance, a figure clad in dark blue and grey with massive, stylized wings Watchbird, a prominent member of Team Iida flew directly overhead, sweeping Hosoe for the source of the recent alarms. Watchbird's sharp aerial gaze immediately fixed on the alley. The sight a hero lying prone, copious amounts of blood coating the ground, and a masked, silver-haired individual holding the captain of the Ingenium agency was clear. This is Watchbird to command. I have visual contact with Ingenium, and an unknown hostile code red. Deploy ground teams immediately to Alley 4, south of the main train station. The wind from Watchbird's wings whipped through the alley as he circled once more, lowering altitude. Yuda clicked his tongue. Great. Just when everything is over, they conveniently show up. Unknown hostile. Watchbird barked, amplifying through her visor speakers. Step away from Ingenie. Her words ceased as the man below stood up and began walking away. That settles that. Let's get out of here. He raised his hand to form the ram seal when. Freeze. Bonus chapter 42 I've had enough. A figure yelled as they descended right in front of him. Stay where you are and don't take another step. The figure was a burly male with stone skin arms in a dark red uniform. Yuda raised an eyebrow. Which is it? Walk away or freeze. Behind him, Watchbird descended, landing beside Ingenium. Captain. Are you injured? Can you move? I'm fine. It's just the hero killer's paralysis quirk, Ingenium answered, voice still stiff. It's wearing off. So he's the hero killer. In front of Yuda, Earthshaker's gaze grew colder. I am not. Yuda replied with a twitching vein. Heroes flooded both entrances now. Enigma, Mirage, Torque. A dozen eyes locked onto him. Half of them wary, the other half angry. And none willing to let him walk out. Hands up where I can see them. Torque shouted. Mirage's eyes widened as he got a clear look at Yuda's mask. That's him. The imposter from before. I really don't have time for this. Yuda let out a light chuckle. Earthshaker stepped forward, stone-coated arms growing thicker as his quirk reacted to his rising pulse. Unknown vigilante, surrender. Now. Surrender. Torque snarled. Don't play dumb. You sabotaged an S-rank operation, impersonated our comms, engaged a high-profile murderer, and endangered civilians. You're not walking away. Yuda tilted his head, unimpressed. I literally kept your captain alive. You're welcome, by the way. That doesn't change what you did. Mirage snapped, hand moving to her weapon. You attacked me. Stole my equipment. Compromised our entire operation. And saved Ingenium from being crippled, Yuda interrupted, voice flat. Which, if you're keeping score, kinda balances out. Torque moved to flank him. That's not how the law works. Funny. The law didn't show up when Stain had a blade to his throat. Silence. Several heroes shifted uncomfortably. Earthshaker's stone fists clenched. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Am I? Watchbird stepped forward, positioning herself between Yuda and the others. Her voice was measured, professional. Listen. We don't know who you are or what your goal was tonight. But the fact remains you interfered with an active hero operation. That's illegal, regardless of outcome. Yuda said nothing. Watchbird continued. If you cooperate now, we can sort this out properly. But if you resist, you'll what? Yuda's tone didn't shift. Chase me? Catch me? Behind them, Ingenium finally managed to push himself fully upright. His legs were still shaky, but the paralysis was fading. He took a slow breath. Everyone, stand down. The other heroes hesitated. Captain. I said stand down. Ingenium's voice carried authority despite the strain. Give us space. Reluctantly, the others backed off though Mirage's glare never left Yuda. Ingenium stepped forward, engine still sputtering faintly. His eyes locked onto the masked man. I need to know, he said quietly. Why? Yuda tilted his head. Why what? Why save me? Why risk everything to stop Stain? Ingenium's jaw tightened. You're not a hero. You're not registered. You clearly have your own agenda. He gestured at the blood-stained alley. So why? Yuda was silent for a long moment. Then he shrugged. Maybe I just don't like watching people die. Ingenium studied him carefully. I don't believe that. Another pause. Then Ingenium straightened fully, despite the pain. Regardless of your reasons, you saved my life tonight. And for that, I'm grateful. His expression hardened. But gratitude doesn't override the law. Yuda raised an eyebrow in amusement. I'm sorry. What? Ingenium's helmet visor reflected the harsh alley light. He was conflicted, but his sense of duty was absolute. I thank you for saving me. You are owed a debt of gratitude for that. But you infiltrated a pro-hero team's mission, and you're not a pro. Unlicensed quirk usage and intent to harm means you need to be arrested. He paused. Come quietly, and I promise I will help you the best I can. Yuda rolled his eyes, a theatrical movement that suggested utter boredom. Get a load of these guys. The only reason he was still here was simply to see how the heroes would react to his presence. Now that he had his answer, the time for reconnaissance was over. All right then. He raised his right hand in a familiar sign, the ram seal. See. Then, with a practiced burst of expelled chakra, the body of the shadow clone exploded into a dense cloud of white smoke. Get back! Everyone backed away warily. When the smoke cleared, the pavement was empty. The masked man was gone. He blew up. Mirage stammered, bewildered. No, Captain, the Earth hero said, shaking his head. I don't smell blood or see any residue. It was his quirk, no doubt. Captain, what now? Ingenium didn't answer immediately. He stared at the empty space, then up toward the dark rooftops where Stain had disappeared. Mirage, secure the area. Torque, Earthshaker, assist the officers. Watchbird, we need a full sweep for Stain. He looked down at the blood-slicked pavement where his supposed savior had just vanished in a puff of smoke. Earthshaker nodded grimly. And the vigilante? Ingenium exhaled, slow and conflicted. He saved my life. But he's still a criminal until we learn otherwise. He turned away, wincing as the last traces of paralysis left his legs. Move out. We're done here. The heroes dispersed into the streets. Alone for a heartbeat, Ingenium looked back one last time at the empty space where the masked stranger had stood. Who are you? The quiet was almost peaceful. Far from the roaring stadium, Yuda sat on a bench in the maintenance hallway, elbows resting on his knees. A small notepad lay balanced on his thigh, half filled with scribbled chakra flow diagrams. He flicked his fingers through a half-formed hand seal when a soft pop echoed inside his skull. He froze mid-motion. Then, FWSSSH. A rush of images flooded into him all at once. Yuda's head felt like it had been cracked by a sledgehammer. Stain. The alley. Ingenium collapsing against the wall. Heroes surrounding the clone. The ram seal. Smoke. Silence. The clone's entire 4 hours of existence replayed in his mind like a film on fast forward. Yuda blinked. Well. That happened. For a moment he just stood there, shoulders rising and falling with a slow exhale as the Hoso encounter settled in the back of his thoughts. So I held out that long, huh? And they tried to arrest me. Figures. I saved the guy and I'm still public enemy number, something. He rubbed the bridge of his nose. Ingenium wasn't crippled. Good. As for Stain escaping, Yuda had long been prepared for it. Well, the heroes probably think I'm some criminal mastermind now or something. He rubbed his chin in thought. Whatever. Just then, the stadium's loudspeaker, though muffled, suddenly boomed loud enough to cut through the reinforced walls. And well, she's done it. Hatsume has finally exhausted her promotional materials and is out of bounds. In a very strange turn of events, the win goes to Class 1A's, Tenya Iida. This is the craziest sports festival I've ever had the pleasure to commentate on. Yuda blinked at the wall. Oh. Right. The festival. His expression twitched with amusement. Of course. While his clone was stopping a murderer and arguing with pro-heroes, Iida here was being punted around by a walking sponsorship deal. He checked the maintenance area's low-hanging clock. 1:22 p.m. He'd left the stadium around 12:58 p.m., right after the Kaminari/Shiozaki match finished. Time to go back then. He started walking again, heading toward the arena entrances. The next round of matches were something he wanted to see. Especially the 7th one. The stadium speakers roared back to life with present mix unmistakable energy. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Next up a clash of quirks, styles, and vibes. Please welcome to the arena. Class 1A's Dark Avenger of the Night Tokoyami Fumikage. The crowd cheered as Tokoyami stepped onto the field. And facing him the Acid Queen herself. The slippery striking superstar Ashidoya Minae. Mina walked in striking a sparkly pose that sent half the audience into laughter and the other half into cheers. Yuda walked through the entrance to the General Studies viewing section right as Present Mike finished his intro. The rush of crowd noise washed over him. Before he could take 3 steps inside. Yuda. Hana noticed him, waving both arms over her head like she was signaling a rescue helicopter. There you are. Where were you? She demanded, pointing dramatically. You missed so much. Several heads in their class turned toward him with a mix of curiosity, and bro, you missed so much energy. I stepped out for a bit. It can't be that much. A bit. Kimura practically grabbed his sleeve. Dude. You missed so much. The last 2 matches were insane. Insane. First Zero got absolutely demolished by Todoroki like, tsunami scale demolished. There was ice everywhere, they had to delay the next match just to clean the arena. I saw. And then, Hatsume turned the arena into a live commercial. Poor Iida didn't know whether to fight or sign an endorsement deal. Yuda shrugged. Sounds like I missed the festival's peak entertainment. I know, right? Though it seems all the attention is going to Class 1A. Their class is outrageous. It's normal. Yuda replied. They alone occupied 13 spots. Alright, let's get this show on the road. Start. Chapter 43 Izuku Midoriya vs Katsuki Bakugo 1. Aeon that's it. Mina Ashido is out of bounds. Tokoyami Fumikage advances to the next round. Present Mix voice cracked over the speakers as the crowd roared. Yuda blinked. Mina sat on her butt outside the ring, looking both dazed and impressed as dark shadow receded back into Tokoyami's torso. Tokoyami gave a stiff bow. Midnight waved her whip. Match over. Tokoyami wins. Wait, Yuda muttered. Hana tilted her head. Something wrong. Yuda slapped his palm against his forehead. Oh my god. I've seen this before. Kimura snorted. Yet? From the last 10 seconds. Yet I guess. Of course not. Yuda dragged a hand down his face. That's why it looked so familiar. Tokoyami vs Mina. It actually happened in canon. They fought in the next round after they both advanced. He clicked his tongue. A minute later, Present Mike continued his enthusiastic barrage. Alright, the hype train keeps on rolling. For our 6th match of the 2nd round, we have 2 of Class 1A's heavy hitters. Yuda's attention snapped back to the arena. Time to confirm the next piece of the new sequence. First up, the creation quirk genius who got in on recommendations Yaeorozuo Momo. Momo walked out, her expression determined but noticeably tense. And facing her, the strongman with the sweetest tooth, he's ready to rumble Satoru Kido. Sato stepped onto the platform, already looking keyed up. Midnight cracked her whip. Begin. Sato immediately tore into 3 sugar cubes and roared as his muscles bulked up. Fueled by his sugar rush quirk, he sprinted straight across the arena, a human bulldozer of muscle and speed. Momo reacted instantly, her quirk activating as she tried to form a shield made of solid steel, but Sato was already on her. Crash! Sato's momentum slammed into the half-formed creation. The steel crumpled with a sound like tearing paper. Momo barely managed to jump back, her eyes wide with shock. She tried to create a polyarm for distance, but Sato was relentless. He pressed his advantage, not giving her a chance to complete any complex creation. Every time her quirk manifested, Sato's massive, sugar-enhanced arms shattered it, forcing her backward step by painful step. No hard feelings. Sato grunted even as his adrenaline-fueled rush propelled him forward. Momo stumbled, desperately trying to create a smoke bomb for cover, but she misjudged the boundary line. Sato, trying to avoid making direct contact, swung wide and his shoulder lightly grazed her enough to send her final step over the white line. Midnight's whip snapped again. Yaeorozu is out of bounds. Sato Rikido advances. Sato froze, blushing through his beefy silhouette. Oh. Sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. I was just trying my best. Momo bowed politely, though her smile was tight. No. You did wonderfully. I simply didn't adapt fast enough. Watching, Hana winced sympathetically. Oof. Poor girl. Kimura nodded. Yep. That was brutal. Right, Yuda? Yuda shrugged. What's there to say? It was a bad matchup. Simple as that. Yuda is right. Tanaka added. Some quirks just have strong restraint against other types. The Yaeorozu from Class 1A probably couldn't display her strengths as her quirk requires sufficient prep time to make a major impact. Against a brawler with high speed, strength, and defense. He didn't say more. Hana let out a long sigh as Momo and Sato exited the field. You're probably right. But her quirk was creation. It sounded so cool. Is it wrong that I kinda expected more from her? Yuda rolled his eyes. Sato's advanced and so has Tokoyami. So the next matchup should be. He looked up at the large screen as the bracket shuffled once more. The names for the next match flashed large and bright. Match 7, Katsuki Bakugo vs. Izuku Midoriya. Yuda gave a slow nod. Now, this is the main event. He didn't need the canon timeline to know how this would go. Midoriya, currently a walking glass cannon, was facing Bakugo, a fighter who specialized in high speed, unpredictable offense and incredible aerial mobility. This wouldn't be like the static confrontation with Todoroki. This was going to be a disaster. Get ready to rumble, folks. Present Mike screamed, his voice hitting a hysterical pitch. It's the clash you don't see every day. 2 childhood rivals, finally facing off. His words drew the attention of the audience. Present Mike continued. In lane 1 the green powerhouse with a heart of pure determination Midoriya Izuku. Midoriya walked out, his face a mix of fierce concentration and sheer dread. Come on Deku. You can do it. Yurika cheered from Class 1A viewing area. Iida similarly cheered. Do your best Midoriya. And in lane 2 the human hand grenade, the explosive prodigy who took first place in the entrance exams Bakugo Katsuki. Bakugo stomped into the arena like he owned it. Chin up, eyes sharp, palms already sparking. His eyes were locked on Midoriya, carrying something else that wasn't the usual rage. Finally. Midoriya swallowed. Hakachan. You have no idea how long I've waited for this moment. His eyes narrowed. The chance to show the world just where you stand. He slammed his hand against his fist. A small explosion followed. Midoriya swallowed even harder. Shut up and listen Deku. Bakugo hissed across the stadium. Don't you dare hold back. I don't want any excuses after I beat you. Midoriya paused. Slowly, the nervousness and uncertainties drained away, replaced by that determination that would follow him throughout his story. You already know I won't, Kaken. Midnight raised her whip. Contestants, ready. Midoriya got into a battle stance. Bakugo's hands ignited, explosions popping like firecrackers. Begin. Bakugo moved first. Boom. His palms ignited, launching him forward in a diagonal arc across the arena. The acceleration was instant 0 to explosive in half a heartbeat. Midoriya barely had time to react. He's coming straight at me. He raised his arm, channeling one for all into his right index finger. Bakugo twisted mid-air, angling his body sideways. Boom. Another explosion sent him veering left, completely dodging the predicted trajectory. Midoriya's finger flicked forward anyway. Crack. The shockwave tore through the air where Bakugo should have been but wasn't. The blast carved a trench into the concrete behind him. Bakugo landed in a low crouch, palms already aimed. Too slow, DEKU. Boom. 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 A rapid-fire barrage of explosions peppered the ground around Midoriya, forcing him to leap backward. Smoke and debris clouded the air. Midoriya landed hard, his finger already throbbing from the first flick. Boom. Bakugo burst through the smoke like a missile, fist cocked back. Midoriya's eyes widened. Already. He braced. Bakugo twisted, detonated point blank in front of Midoriya's guard. Ba-thum. Midoriya flew back, body rolling numerous times on the concrete. Damn it. He tried his best to get a grip. Planting his legs and arms, until he eventually came to a stop. Raising his head, the first thing he saw was the boundary line of the ring. What luck! Midoriya stabilized himself before he was blown out of the ring. The crowd erupted in cheers. Boom! Bakugo shot forward. He was going to utilize this opportunity to the fullest for a dominating win, without giving Midoriya any chance to fight back. Come on Deku! Try harder! Midoriya's face changed. He raised his hand without hesitation. Crack! Another Delaware smash, point blank. The shockwave collided with Bakugo's explosion, overwhelming the latter, and creating a violent burst of air pressure that sent him flying backward. Midoriya's left index finger bent at an unnatural angle. Pain shot up his arm. Damn it! This isn't easy. In the distance, Bakugo quickly used his explosions to control his trajectory, regaining his balance mid-air. Bakugo landed on his feet, grinning through the smoke. Not bad, Deku. You actually hit me that time. The audience had begun whispering. Hana winced. Ouch, that looked painful. Kimura nodded. I'll say. The green-haired guy's quirk looks pretty powerful. Yet. Too powerful for himself. 2 blasts for 2 fingers. Is it worth it? There's recovery girl, remember. Midoriya gritted his teeth, cradling his broken fingers. He's too fast. I can't predict where he'll come from. Bakugo crouched low. But you're still too damn predictable. Boom. He flew upwards. Midoriya's gaze followed as he aimed. Then, Bakugo twisted mid-air, using another explosion to change direction at the last second. He came in low instead. What? Boom. An explosion detonated right in Midoriya's face. The force sent him tumbling backward, arms flailing as he tried to regain balance. Bakugo didn't let up. He landed, spun, and launched again, this time aiming a spinning heel kick enhanced by a perfectly timed blast. Midoriya raised his arm desperately. Crack! 3rd finger. Another shockwave. But Bakugo had already adjusted, using the recoil from his own explosion to spiral out of range. The shockwave missed entirely. Midoriya's breathing was ragged now. 3 fingers down. His right hand was a mangled mess. I can't keep this up. He's not giving me time to aim. Come on, Deku! Bakugo roared, landing in the center of the arena. Is that all you've got? His palms crackled with stored sweat, sparks dancing across his gauntlets. I told you not to hold back. Midoriya's jaw tightened. He's right. I can't afford to hesitate. He raised his left hand, channeling one for all into his middle finger. If I can't hit him directly, I'll force him into a corner. He aimed at the ground between them. Crack! The shockwave tore through the concrete, sending chunks of debris flying upward in a wide arc. Bakugo's eyes widened. A smoke screen. The dust cloud exploded outward, obscuring the entire center of the arena. For a moment, the crowd held its breath. Then, boom! Bakugo blasted straight through the debris cloud, emerging on the other side with pinpoint precision. But Midoriya wasn't there. Where? His eyes widened. Up. Bakugo looked up. Midoriya was falling toward him, arm raised, one leg mangled, finger aimed directly down. He jumped during the smokescreen. Crack! The shockwave came down like a hammer. Bakugo crossed his arms, bracing. Boom! He fired both palms upward, meeting the shockwave head-on. The two forces collided mid-air. Crack! The resulting explosion sent a shockwave rippling across the entire stadium. Chapter 44 Izuku Midoriya vs Katsuki Bakugo 2. The two forces collided mid-air. Crack! The resulting explosion sent a shockwave rippling across the entire stadium. So strong. Damn! Just the shockwaves are this fierce. Are these seriously first years? The audience shielded their faces as dust spread across the arena. Come on, Deku! Yuda gripped the railings, her knuckles turning white. Iida adjusted his glasses. Midoriya is at a severe disadvantage. Bakugo's mobility allows him to dictate the pace entirely. Kirishima nodded grimly. Yet. And Midoriya's quirk is too slow. Every time he fires, Bakugo's already moved. Aizawa thought the same thing. His power is weaker, but at least he isn't a one-time consumable anymore. Compared to the last battle training, and the USJ, he had improved, though not much. But it's gonna take more than that to win. Present Mike yelled in the commentator's booth. What a clash of powers! Who came out on top? The smoke cleared to show two figures. Katsuki Bakugo, standing without so much as breaking a sweat. On the other end, Midoriya was on the ground, clutching his broken hand. 4 fingers turned purple. Come on Deku! The voice fell into his ears, causing him to clench his fist. Don't you want to be a hero? To stand up to me? Bakugo raised a hand sparking with explosions. Are you going to give up now? His grin was feral. Midoriya's breath trembled as he pushed himself upright, every movement sending needles of pain through his ruined hand. I'm not. He wheezed, giving up. Bakugo's eye twitched. Then show me. Bakugo blasted forward. Midoriya fired his finger at point-blank range. Or what should have been point-blank as Bakugo fired an explosion to dodge overhead at the last second. Midoriya's eyes widened as the shockwave missed. The next moment, 2 hands gripped Bus hair and collar. Show me why you suddenly think you're on my level after years of lagging behind. Bakugo landed and lifted Midoriya over his shoulder, then slammed him on the concrete. Bang! Ugh! Midoriya bounced off the earth, waves of pain radiating throughout his very being. I can't hit. Bakugo's palms lit up with sweltering heat. Without waiting, he slammed his palm directly on his body. Midoriya blocked with an arm. Boom! A loud explosion resounded, with Midoriya's body flying out of the smoke cloud. He crashed, bounced off the earth, and crashed against before coming to a sliding halt. Silence engulfed the arena. Ha! Ha! Save for Bakugo's light pants. He didn't say a word, watching Midoriya's unmoving body for a while before snorting. That is the difference between us, you. His words stopped abruptly. Exclamations rang through the stadium. He's moving. He's getting back up. Midoriya pushed himself upright, trembling like a newborn fawn. Blood trickled from his busted lips. His broken fingers dangled. His chest rose and fell in shallow, ragged breaths. But he stood. A collective hiss rippled across the stadium. That's not normal, someone whispered. How is he still moving? That should have put down a pro. Yuda clasped both hands over her mouth. Deku, please, stop pushing yourself so hard. Beside her, Iida's jaw clenched. Midoriya, your resolve is admirable. But Kirishima felt chills crawl down his spine. Man, he's so damn tough. Aizawa's eyes narrowed. This is dangerous. He's holding himself together through sheer will. Hana swallowed, hugging her arms. This is too much. How is he shouldn't even be conscious? Yuda didn't answer at first. His eyes were locked on Midoriya, expression darkening. This is worse than I thought. He's pushing one for all past its limits again. Even with Izuku's insane pain tolerance, his body can't sustain many more hits like that. If Bakugo keeps landing direct explosions. If he could see this, others could as well. Midnight. Do I stop the match? Cement toss uttered through the comms. That Midoriya probably thinks recovery girl will heal me anyway, but I don't think his body can take much more of this. At this rate, he probably won't be able to fight in the next round even if he wins. Midnight frowned. Worse. This could cripple him if it goes too far. Even present Mike hesitated, voice shaky for once. Well, folks, Midoriya is somehow still standing. That's right. He's back on his feet. This match isn't over yet, he uttered, only to meet Aizawa's deadpan stare. Mike. What? Bakugo's reaction was nothing like theirs. He stared. Chest rising and falling not from exhaustion, but from something far more volatile. Confusion. Frustration. Anger. Something deeper beneath all of it. What is wrong with you? Bakugo muttered. Midoriya lifted his head, sweat and dirt dripping from his chin. He breathed, I'm not done yet, Kaken. Bakugo's eye twitched. He took a step forward. Why? Bakugo spat, voice low, dangerously close to cracking. Why do you keep standing? Midoriya's lips trembled. Because. He panted, there's something I have to prove. Bakugo froze. Midoriya looked up, eyes burning with an earnestness that hit harder than any punch. That I can walk this path too, Kaken. Even if I fall 100 times, even if it breaks me. His hand flickered with rainbow streaks of energy. His good leg lit up with the same glow. I will keep trying. I won't stay behind you forever. The arena went dead silent. No cheers. No gasps. Just tension. Raw and heavy. Bakugo's face twitched. Something inside him snapped. You damn nerd. Boom. Energy condensed in his palms. He blasted straight upward, carving a fiery spiral in the air, then curved down. A meteor wreathed in explosions. Stay down. Midoriya braced his legs, power crackling and fracturing the stone beneath his feet as he took blasted forward. Midnight. Cement toss instantly reacted, slamming his hands onto the cement. If they keep going, it'll be bad. On the arena, numerous walls of earth shot upwards. Stop them. Midoriya blasted forward. Bakugo descended like a meteor. The walls of concrete erupted between them 5, 6, 7 layers thick. Boom! The collision was cataclysmic. A massive explosion of light and force detonated at the center of the arena, swallowing everything in a blinding white flash. The shockwave hit the stadium like a physical wall. Spectators screamed. Hands flew up to shield faces. The entire structure groaned and shuddered. Get down! Someone yelled. Dust, debris, and smoke billowed outward in a massive cloud, obscuring the entire battlefield. These kids are going to get themselves killed. Or kill us first. For 5 long seconds, no one could see anything. Then, slowly, the smoke began to clear. The arena was a wreck. Cementoss's walls had been obliterated, reduced to rubble and craters. Scorch marks scorched the concrete in jagged, overlapping patterns. Chunks of stone littered the field like a battlefield. And in the center stood a figure in a half-torn uniform. Bakugo stood, hunched forward, hands braced on his knees. His breathing was ragged, chest heaving. Sweat dripped from his chin, and his hands released whips of smoke. Damn you! But he was standing, eyes fixed on the figure in the distance. Deku. Outside the boundary line. Midoriya lay motionless. His body was crumpled against the far wall, unconscious, arms scorched purple. His hero costume was torn and scorched. Blood trickled from his forehead. The stadium was silent. Not a single sound. Until Midnight's whip cracked through the stillness. Midoriya Izuku is out of bounds and unable to continue. Her voice rang across the arena. The winner is Bakugo Katsuki. The crowd exploded. Cheers. Gasps. Applause. Shock. But Bakugo didn't react. He just stood there, staring at Midoriya's unconscious form. His fists trembled. Damn it, Deku! Medical bots rushed onto the field, surrounding Midoriya immediately. Bakugo turned away, shoulders tense, and walked toward the exit tunnel without another word. In the viewing area, Yurika's hands were still clasped over her mouth, eyes wide and glistening. Deku. Iida stood rigid beside her, fists clenched at his sides. He pushed himself too far, Iida said quietly. Even knowing the consequences, he refused to yield. Kirishima exhaled slowly, running a hand through his hair. Man, that was brutal. But Midoriya's got guts. I'll give him that. Yeah, but he lost. And he's gonna be out of commission for a while. Ashui nodded, expression somber. Ribbit. Recovery girl can only do so much. His injuries were severe. Todoroki said nothing. His arms remained crossed, gaze fixed on the arena floor where Midoriya had fallen. He gave everything he had. His eyes narrowed. And Bakugo, still won. Yurika wiped her eyes quickly, forcing a shaky smile. He'll be okay, right? Recovery girl will fix him up. Of course. Midoriya is resilient. But he will need time to recover. Iida glanced toward the exit tunnel where Bakugo had disappeared. That match was more than just a fight. In Class 1B viewing area, Monoma leaned back in his seat, arms crossed, a bemused smirk on his face. Well. Class 1A really does love their dramatics, don't they? Kendo elbowed him. Shut up, Monoma. That was a serious fight. Oh, I know. Monoma's grin widened. Which is exactly why I'm saying Class 1A are absolute freaks. Tetsu nodded slowly, still processing what he'd just witnessed. Yeah, those two went all out. That final clash could have hospitalized both of them. Pony tilted her head, voice soft. But they're both okay, right? Midoriya-san looked really hurt. Kendo sighed. He'll recover. But that was reckless. Both of them were. Shiozaki, seated quietly near the edge of the group, clasped her hands together in silent prayer. May they both heal swiftly, she murmured. Monoma glanced over at her, then smirked. Well, Shiozaki, looks like you've got your work cut out for you if you want to win this thing. Shiozaki opened her eyes, expression serene but resolute. I will do my best. With faith and humility. Kendo nodded approvingly. That's the spirit. Tetsu grinned, punching his fist into his palm. Yeah. Show em what Class 1B's made of. Another student from 1B leaned over, glancing toward the General Studies section across the stadium. At least her next opponent isn't as much of a monster as those two, he said, nodding toward Yuda. Monoma followed his gaze, eyes narrowing slightly. The General Studies kid who beat Todoroki and Bakugo in the cavalry battle. He tapped his chin thoughtfully. Don't underestimate him. He's got something up his sleeve. Kendo raised an eyebrow. You actually sound serious for once. Shiozaki glanced across the stadium, her gaze settling on Yuda. Akudamaya Yuda. She exhaled. I must remain vigilant. Chapter 45 Quarterfinals I. Wow. What? A match. Present Mix voice was hoarse but still enthusiastic. Bakugo Katsuki moves on to the semifinals with an explosive victory. Aizawa sighed. That was reckless. Both of them. But hey. They gave it their all. That's what the sports festival is all about. Mike. What? Aizawa didn't respond, his gaze shifting to the medical bots carrying Midoriya away. Kid's got heart. But if he keeps this up, he'll destroy himself before he ever becomes a hero. In the General Studies viewing area. Hana exhaled. That was insane. Kimura nodded, still staring at the destroyed arena. Yet. I thought they were gonna blow up the whole stadium. Hana glanced at Yuda. You okay? You've been quiet. I'm fine. Worried about how you'll fare against Bakugo and Todoroki. Hey. No. Ha. He totally is. Bakugo's explosive display probably spooked him. He's not without a chance though. Yuda's speed is impressive. Even if he can't win first place, top 3 is within reach. Yuda's eyes twitched. Forget top 3. His next obstacle is Shiozaki. Dude, you nervous about your next match? Yuda tilted his head. Not really. Kimura snorted. You're fighting Shiozaki. She just demolished Kaminari without breaking a sweat. Tanaka nodded. Her quirk is versatile. Defense, offense, range. She's a problem. Yuda shrugged. I'll figure it out. Hana stared at him. You're way too calm about this. Yuda didn't answer. Well, I've fought worse. Recovery Girl's office infirmary. The sterile scent of antiseptic filled the small room. Midoriya lay on the medical bed, arms wrapped tightly in thick bandages from shoulder to fingertip. Recovery Girl sat on a stool beside him. Reckless, she muttered. Absolutely reckless. Standing near the doorway was All Might, still in his skeletal form, hands clasped behind his back. His expression was conflicted pride mixed with concern. How bad is it? He asked quietly. Recovery Girl sighed, adjusting her syringe cane. Both arms suffered severe microfractures. His right hand is worse, 3 fingers broken, ligaments torn. His ribs are bruised, possibly cracked. And he pushed his quirk far beyond safe limits. She looked up at All Might, eyes sharp. If he keeps this up, Toshinori, he'll cripple himself permanently. All Might's jaw tightened. I know. Do you? Recovery Girl's voice hardened. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've been encouraging this kind of recklessness. All Might didn't respond. Recovery Girl exhaled, softening slightly. He's got the heart of a hero. I'll give him that. But heart alone won't save him if his body gives out. She stood, tapping her cane against the floor. I'll heal what I can. But my quirk accelerates his natural healing, it doesn't create stamina out of nothing. He'll be out of commission for at least 2 days. Maybe more. All Might nodded slowly. Understood. He walked over to the bed, looking down at Midoriya's unconscious face. You gave everything you had, young Midoriya. His fists clenched. Even if you lost. You did it with heart. For a moment, he was silent. Then. Midoriya's eyes fluttered open. All Might. All Might's expression softened immediately. Easy, my boy. You're in Recovery Girl's office. Midoriya blinked, disoriented. His arms felt heavy. His chest ached. The match. He tried to sit up. Pain shot through his ribs. Ack. Don't move. Recovery Girl snapped, pushing him back down gently but firmly. You're lucky you can move at all. Midoriya winced, settling back onto the bed. Did I? All Might's smile was sad. You fought valiantly, young Midoriya. But, you were pushed out of bounds. Bakugo won. Midoriya's face fell. I lost. Silence. But you stood your ground, All Might said firmly. Even when the odds were against you. That takes courage, my boy. Real courage. Before Midoriya could respond. Knock knock. The door opened. Yurika peeked in, followed by Iida, Todoroki, and a few other classmates. Deku. Yurika rushed over, eyes wide with relief. You're awake. Iida stepped forward, posture rigid but expression warm. Midoriya. We were worried. All Might stepped aside. Hello sir. Hello. Midoriya's throat tightened. Everyone. Yurika grabbed his hand carefully, mindful of the bandages. You were amazing out there, Deku. Even if you lost, you gave it everything. Kirishima grinned from the doorway. Yeah, dude. That was the manliest thing I've ever seen. Kaminari nodded enthusiastically. Seriously. You went toe-to-toe with Bakugo. That's insane. Thanks, guys. Midoriya managed a weak smile. By the way. Aren't you and Kirishima supposed to be competing right now? Iida adjusted his glasses. The arena sustained significant damage from your match. They're currently repairing it. The tournament will resume shortly. Midoriya blinked. The arena. Yurika nodded. Yeah. You and Bakugo kinda destroyed it. Midoriya's face went pale. We did. Recovery Girl sighed. Yes. And you'll be paying for it with surgery and 2 days of bed rest. What? Surgery? Not so loud. Come on, everyone out. Before anyone could respond to Recovery Girl's announcement. Attention, everyone. The stage is finally fixed. We're ready to resume the sports festival. Kirishima Ajiro and Yurika Okako, please report to the arena. Present mix voice boomed through the speakers, echoing even into the infirmary. Kirishima perked up immediately. Oh! That's us! Eureka squeezed Midoriya's hand gently one more time. Get better soon, Deku. I'll do my best out there. You've got this, Eureka. Midoriya said, managing a smile despite the pain. Kirishima grinned, giving Midoriya a thumbs up. Rest up, man. We'll make it a good show. The two hurried out of the infirmary. Recovery girl shooed the remaining students toward the door. All right. Everyone out. He needs rest, not a party. But Kaminari started. Out. The class filed out reluctantly, offering encouraging words as they left. Todoroki lingered for a moment, meeting Midoriya's eyes briefly. You fought well, he said simply. Then he turned and left. Once the door closed, the room fell quiet again. All Might pulled up a chair and sat beside the bed, his skeletal frame somehow looking even more tired than usual. Young Midoriya, he began softly. I'm proud of you. You showed incredible determination out there. Midoriya looked down at his bandaged arms. But I lost, All Might. I couldn't beat him. I couldn't do what you wanted me to. Not yet, All Might corrected gently. But you will. You're growing stronger every day. And more importantly. He smiled. You're learning what it means to be a hero. Midoriya's throat tightened. Thank you, All Might. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Midoriya's gaze drifted toward the window, where the distant roar of the crowd could be heard. Eureka and Kirishima are fighting now, right? All Might nodded. Indeed. It's an interesting matchup. Midoriya's brow furrowed thoughtfully. Kirishima's hardening quirk makes him incredibly durable. But Eureka's zero gravity could turn that strength into a disadvantage if she can lift him off the ground. All Might chuckled. Already analyzing the match, are you? Midoriya smiled weakly. I can't help it. He stared out the window. Honestly, it's a unique face-off. I wonder who will win. 10 minutes later, the roar of the crowd was deafening. Present Mix's voice cut through the noise like a blade. And there it is, folks. Eureka Okako is out of bounds. Kirishima Ajiro advances to the quarterfinals. The stadium erupted in applause. What a match! Eureka fought brilliantly, using her zero gravity to control the battlefield and keep Kirishima on the defensive. She nearly had him floating out of bounds twice. But Kirishima's relentless offense and rock-solid defense proved too much. That final rush, pure power and determination, pushed her right over the line. On the field, Kirishima extended a hand to help Eureka up. You were incredible, Eureka. Seriously, I thought you were gonna launch me into space. Eureka took his hand, smiling despite the exhaustion and disappointment. Thanks, Kirishima. You were amazing too. They walked off the stage together to thunderous applause. All right. Way to go, Kirishima. They were promptly welcomed by their classmates upon returning to the viewing area. Quite a show you put on. Hope you're okay, Eureka. Yeah. A bit bummed out that I lost. Plus I might have a few aching bones that will require recovery, girl, but I'll pull through. Kirishima grinned sheepishly in response. His attempts to prevent getting touched resulted in him using more force against a female than he would have liked. Sorry. It's okay. I get it. Her words stopped as the sound of footsteps drew their attention. A figure stepped into the Class 1A viewing room. Deku. Eureka rushed over, eyes bright despite having just lost. You're okay. Iida adjusted his glasses. Should you be walking already? The surgery. I'm fine, Midoriya said quickly. Recovery girl cleared me to watch the rest of the matches. I just can't fight for a while. Kirishima grinned, still catching his breath from his match. Glad you're up, man. Thanks. It's a shame I missed your match. Congratulations. Thanks. Eureka made it tough though. I thought she was gonna launch me into orbit. Eureka laughed, though her expression dimmed slightly. I tried. But I wasn't strong enough. Before anyone could respond. All right, folks. It's time for the first match of the quarterfinals. Present Mix's voice boomed across the stadium. Everyone's attention snapped to the arena. The bracket updated on the massive screen. Quarterfinals match 1. Yuda Akutami vs. Iida Shiozaki. Chapter 46 Quarterfinals 2. Quarterfinals Match 1. Yuda Akutami vs. Iida Shiozaki. Finally. The General Studies kid is going on. What's with your excitement? I doubt this match will be as explosive as the last few. Haha. I know. I just love a good underdog rising. Meh. Can't argue with you there. Murmurs swept through the crowd. So, who do you think will win? Eureka asked. Yuda for sure. Siro grinned. I feel he has this one in the bag. I don't necessarily agree. Momo adjusted her ponytail. Akutami's speed is impressive. But Shiozaki's quirk is highly versatile. She can attack and defend simultaneously. Mina's eyes lit up, nudging Hagakure. Hey, Hagakure, you still mad at him? Still want revenge for all those accidents? Hagakure sputtered. What? Mina's grin widened. Come on, you were so mad back then. Hagakure crossed her invisible arms. Well, since he reported Mineta and Kaminari's cheerleader scheme to us, I'll reluctantly let it slide. Kaminari and Mineta both groaned. We were so close. Mineta muttered. Midoriya watched the arena intently, analyzing. His speed is his biggest advantage. If he can close the distance before Shiozaki's vines fully deploy, he might be able to overwhelm her. Present Mix's voice exploded across the speakers. From General Studies, the dark horse who shocked the entire nation, the speed demon himself, Yuhutei Akutami. Yuda waved to the crowd as he stepped into the arena. And from Class 1B, the Vine heroine with faith as strong as her quirk, the graceful guardian Ibarei Shiozaki. Shiozaki walked forward with hands clasped together in prayer. Come on, Shiozaki! Beat this bastard! Mineta yelled from the viewing area while standing on the railings. Mineta! Stop that! Shiozaki bowed to the crowd. May we both fight honorably? Yuda nodded. Sure. Midnight raised her whip high. Contestants, ready. Yuda's gaze grew serious. Shiozaki's eyes closed briefly in prayer. Begin. Midnight's whip cracked. Shiozaki's eyes snapped open. Thick vines burst from her scalp like a tidal wave, shooting across the arena like bullets. Chakra reinforced Yuda's body as he activated body flicker. Bang! The vines slammed into the ground where Yuda had been standing, shattering concrete in one move. He dodged. Shiozaki's eyes widened slightly. Where? She twisted, scanning the arena. Nothing. Her vines spread wider, creating a defensive perimeter around her. He's fast. But I won't let him. Thud. A sharp impact struck the side of her neck. Instantly, her body seized as strength left her legs. Iida Shiozaki collapsed forward, and felt arms catch her before she hit the ground. Yuda held her upright, one arm supporting her back, the other beneath her knees. He watched as her eyes fluttered, ultimately closing as she fell unconscious. With Shiozaki down, the rampant vines lost strength as well. The silence that followed was uncomfortable. Yuda didn't seem to notice as he held the sleeping angel in a princess carry. Then, Midnight's whip shattered it. Shiozaki Ibara is unable to continue. The winner is Yuda Akutami. The stadium erupted. Again. Did anyone even see that? 1 second Shiozaki's vines were everywhere, and the next Akutami's already won. Another instant victory. This kid is unreal. Yuda walked calmly toward the medical bots waiting at the edge of the arena. He laid Shiozaki gently on the stretcher, adjusting her head so it rested comfortably. Well, that takes care of that. His gaze swept to the board that was currently replaying his win even though there wasn't much to see. If there are no unexpected circumstances, my next match is against Todoroki. His gaze drifted to Class 1A. Not surprisingly, they were all looking back at him. Two in particular with clear intensity. His lips curled to form a smile before heading back to the viewing area. This will be fun. Yuda disappeared into the tunnel. Midnight watched his retreating form. A slow, knowing smile spread across her face. Oh, what a wicked little talent, she murmured to herself, tapping her whip thoughtfully against her leg. General Studies won't hold that one for long. Up in the Class 1A viewing box, Shoto Todoroki stood up the moment Yuda vanished into the tunnel. He didn't speak a word, merely leaving through the exit. Todoroki-kun. Eureka muttered as he disappeared. Well, Guess it's my turn. Iida stood up shortly after. Classmates. Please wish me luck. I'm up against Todoroki next. You'll need it, Iida. Shiro called out. Todoroki is seriously powerful. Are you sure you're ready? Thank you for your concern, but I have to give it my all, Iida stated with firm resolve. My first match didn't really have any bright spots to consider. It was essentially a demonstration for Hatsume's support items. My family is watching this, and I don't want to disappoint them with a poor performance. He adjusted his glasses and continued. Though Todoroki is a formidable opponent, I shall utilize every strategy I have formulated to ensure a victory worthy of the hero course. Iida performed a quick bow. I must depart for the waiting room. Good luck, Iida. Uraraka cheered. Go get him, man. Kirishima shouted. Meanwhile, Yuda emerged from the arena floor tunnel, planning to circle back to the general studies stands. My performance up to this point should be enough to get me into the hero course, right? If he remembered right, then the qualifications for transfer basically rested on the will of the teachers. Even if none of the teachers recommend me, Nizu probably wouldn't let me stay in general studies after this. He rounded a corner near the stadium's service corridor, and stopped at the sight of Todoroki heading into the student waiting rooms. Todoroki paused as well. The next few seconds passed in an awkward face-off. Until eventually, Todoroki broke away and stepped into the waiting room. Well, that was awkward. He thought, heading to the viewing area. A few minutes later, present mix intro began. Alright listeners. Hope you've grabbed a drink because we are not slowing down. It's time for our second quarterfinal match. These two have given us some of the best displays of tactics and power today. Iida felt a rush of anger as present mix words. Some of the best displays of tactics and power echoed in his ears. It felt like a deliberate slight. In the left corner, the son of Endeavor, the man whose power rocked the arena in the first round. Shudo Todoroki. And in the right corner, the class president with engine-powered legs. He's here to prove that Class 1A's tactical speed is second to none. Tinya A Thuridae. Both are from hero families, so it's basically a battle of the elite. Contestants ready? Begin. Todoroki moved first, a massive expanse of ice instantly erupting from his right foot, surging across the arena. Iida dashed to the side, narrowly avoiding the freezing wave as it swallowed his previous location in seconds. He's using that much ice from the start. Iida zigzagged through the arena, but Todoroki would send a wall of ice, causing him to turn back. Eventually, Iida was boxed in the middle of several ice walls. It seems Todoroki is going for the kill immediately. Sure enough, a massive ice wave sweeping the available space between the walls rushed towards Iida. I was hoping to save this for the next match. Iida squatted at the sight before him. But it seems I have no choice. He pushed every muscle to its limit, launching himself into a massive standing long jump. The massive ice wave crashed beneath him, swallowing the spot where he'd been a moment before. He cleared the rear, soaring into the open air above the field of ice. As he reached his apex, directly above Todoroki, the exhaust pipes on his calves flared with a blinding intensity. Vroom! Recipro burst. This was the first time Tinya Iida had unleashed the technique in the sports festival. He took a downward thrust to convert his jump into a devastating, short-range plummet. Todoroki, completely focused on the predictable ground battle, expecting Iida to stay trapped, and had never seen this move before, was entirely exposed. Iida plummeted, delivering a high-speed axe kick aimed for Todoroki's head. The kick landed squarely on Todoroki's shoulder and upper torso with concussive force. Chapter 47 Hitachi Shinso. Iida plummeted, delivering a high-speed axe kick aimed for Todoroki's head. The kick landed squarely on his shoulder and upper torso with concussive force. Ugh! The shock drove the air from his lungs. Todoroki was sent skidding violently across the concrete, tumbling backward several meters until he managed to slam his right hand down to stop his momentum, leaving a fresh sheet of jagged ice in his wake. Damn it! What was that move? His mind moved rapidly as he struggled to his feet. Icy residue already forming on the shoulder Iida had struck. Before Todoroki could even fully regain his footing, Iida was already moving again. He used the momentum from the burst to spring off the ground, rocketing past the startled Todoroki and grabbing him by the collar. 8 seconds left on Recipro. Iida shot straight for the arena boundary. I'll use the remaining engine power to force him over the boundary line and An ice-cold hand clamped his own. KSSSHHHH. Frost exploded across Iida's arm, then spread to the rest of his body. His exhaust froze mid-output, his legs were engulfed with ice. I have more than ranged attacks, you know. Ice crawled up Iida's legs, locking them in place. Iida's momentum died. His torso followed. Within seconds, he was encased from the waist down. Iida tried to pull free, but his body wouldn't respond. The chill seeped into his bones. No. Todoroki stepped back, chest heaving with heavy breaths. A sharp pain throbbed where Iida's kick had landed. You almost had me, he muttered. To think you still had that up your sleeve. Iida grit his teeth. Almost, isn't enough. Iida Tinya is immobilized. Midnight's announcement came through. Todoroki advances to the semifinals. The crowd cheered. And there we have it. Todoroki advances with only half of his power. Incredible note in case you haven't noticed. He's only been using his right side all this time. This is the speed I'll have to deal with in the next round. Todoroki looked to the viewing area. It'll be tricky. His gaze shifted to Class 1A before turning away. Oh. Poor Iida. Eureka said with a twinge of worry in her voice. Midoriya couldn't utter a word. He knew how important winning meant to him. Unfortunately, Todoroki was just too strong. Todoroki's left side heated up, melting the ice encasing Iida. Within moments, he could move again. He stumbled slightly, legs stiff from the cold. You fought well, Todoroki uttered. Iida straightened, subconsciously adjusting his glasses despite the lingering chill. As did you, Todoroki. Congratulations. He bowed stiffly, then walked toward the exit. Brows furrowed enough to show his simmering frustration. I was so close. If I'd been just a second faster. He shook his head. No. Excuses won't help. I lost. That's all there is to it. HOSU City Hospital Wing. Tensei Iida sat on the edge of a medical bed, wincing as a nurse wrapped fresh bandages around his ribs. Hold still, please. Sorry. His eyes were fixed on the TV mounted on the wall across from him. The sports festival broadcast played on mute, but the visuals told the story clearly enough. Tinya, frozen in place. Todoroki, standing victorious. The replay showed a wonderful match, albeit one ending in Tinya's lost. He got so close. The nurse finished securing the bandage and stepped back. There. Try not to overexert yourself for the next few days. Those ribs need time to heal. Understood. Thank you. She left, closing the door behind her. Tensei stared at the screen. Tinya walked off the stage, head held high despite the loss. You did well, Tinya. His hand moved to his side, where the bandages pressed against bruised ribs, a reminder of his own recent encounter. It seems both Iida brothers suffered losses today. Mask removed, he couldn't help but clench his fist. No. I couldn't even land a proper hit. While Tinya, he nearly won. Looking at Tinya on the screen, he sighed. He's already got down the recipro. Eventually, he'll surpass me. The thought didn't sting. It filled him with something quieter pride, tinged with worry. Just, don't push yourself too hard, little brother. All right, folks. We're not slowing down. Next up, quarterfinals match 3. The bracket updated. Quarterfinals match 3. Fumikage Tokoyami vs. Rikido Sato. From Class 1A, the Dark Shadow wielder himself, Fumikage Tokoyami 8th. Tokoyami stepped onto the stage, expression stoic. And his opponent also from Class 1A, the sugar-powered strongman Rikido Sato. Sato walked forward, already tearing into a sugar cube. Midnight raised her whip. Begin. Dark Shadow. Dark Shadow exploded outward from his stomach. Sato charged, fist cocked back. Once Dark Shadow was in range, he threw a punch. Haha. The shadow dodged flexibly. Damn it. Sato tried to pull back, but it was too late. Dark Shadow slammed into him like a freight train, launching him backward. He hit the ground hard, barely reacting when he was hit by another attack. Bang. Sato was knocked back. Stay on him, Dark Shadow. Tokoyami yelled from behind. Don't give him a chance to counter. Wear him down. The shadow hissed, weaving through Sato's high power swings every time Sato's fist came close to making contact, the shadow elongated or contracted, avoiding his attacks and delivering stinging jabs. Occasionally, Sato would get one back, but Dark Shadow just recoiled before attacking again. It dodged his punch, and swung from under upwards. Sato was sent flying mid-air. A finishing blow threw him backward with triple the velocity. He sailed through the air, his sugar rush finally bottoming out, and landed firmly outside the concrete ring. Midnight's whip cracked. Rikido Sato is out of bounds. Tokoyami Fumikage advances to the semifinals. Their IT is. Present mix voice boomed. A classic showdown of range vs. raw power. Tokoyami takes IT with a clinical finish. The arena isn't damaged this time. So let's see who we have up next. Quarterfinals match 4, Bakugo Katsuki vs. Ehiro Kirishima. Alright, listeners. This is the one you've been waiting for. Two powerhouses from Class 1A going toe-to-toe. Bakugo stepped out, his palms already producing small, rhythmic pops. Opposite, Kirishima was already hardening his skin, arms turning jagged. Ready to go down, shitty hair. Bakugo sneered. Kirishima grinned, slamming his fists together. Bring it on, Bakugo. I'm the only one who can actually take what you're dishing out. Begin. 5 minutes later. Boom! The stadium rocked. A massive cloud of soot and debris obscured the arena. When the wind cleared it away, Kirishima was on his hands and knees near the edge of the ring. His hardening was crumbling and his uniform was tattered. The strain of maintaining it against that much concentrated heat finally breaking his limit. Stay down, Bakugo growled. Kirishima looked up, gave a weak, respectful smirk, and collapsed forward. Kirishima Ajiro is unable to continue. Katsuki Bakugo moves on. And the semifinals are set. Present Mike screamed over the roar of the crowd. The board updated, showing the 4 names remaining in the tournament. Asterisk Yuda Akudamai. Asterisk Shoto Todoroki. Asterisk Fumikage Tokoyami. Asterisk Katsuki Bakugo. Match 1. Yuda Akudamai vs. Shoto Todoroki. Match 2. Fumikage Tokoyami vs. Katsuki Bakugo. The visual on the big screen shifted, locking the 4 names into a new configuration. The stadium tension, already high, reached a fever pitch. Yuda watched the bracket finalize. Todoroki first. Then Bakugo. He stood, stretching his arms overhead. I guess I'm up again. Hana immediately grabbed his sleeve. Yuda. You're up against Todoroki. I have eyes, thank you very much. He rolled his eyes. Wish me luck. Yab. Go for it. Show em what Class 1D can do. A few other classmates chimed in as well. Beat him, Akudamai. Make GS proud. You're the dark horse, ride it. Yet. He stepped into the hallway, the noise of the stadium fading behind him. The corridor was quiet, just the hum of overhead lights and the distant rumble of the crowd. All right. How do I do this? He had been thinking about this for a while. As without a doubt, this would be the first fight he'd have to take seriously. Fast ice. Long range. He'll definitely be defensive just like he was with Midoriya from Canon. I did insta-kill my last 2. Akudamai. Yuda stopped. Hey. Hitachi Shinso stood there with his hands in his pockets, back against the concrete. You've made it pretty far, Shinso said, tone dry. Farther than anyone expected. Yuda raised a brow. Thanks. Shinso huffed. Don't get the wrong idea. I don't know you. And you don't know me. Wasn't that obvious? He pushed off the wall, finally meeting Yuda's eyes. But if someone from General Studies is going to make the school rethink its precious hierarchy, it might as well be you. Yuda blinked again, not fully understanding where this was coming from. Is he putting his hopes for getting into the hero course in me? Chapter 48 Dark Horse vs Crown Prince 1. Yuda blinked again, not fully understanding where this was coming from. Is he putting his hopes for getting into the hero course on me? May I ask where you going with this? Shinso's expression changed. It's simple. You win this, and maybe the faculty starts paying attention to the rest of us. Not just the hero course golden children. Yuda tilted his head. Ah. That's what this is. Shinso hadn't made it to the finals. He'd been knocked out earlier in the bracket of the cavalry battle. A round lower than his original canon counterpart. But he'd made it to the final 42 in the obstacle race. As one of the only 3 not from the hero course to achieve it, that alone proved he had potential. Just not the flashy, combat-ready kind UA seemed to prioritize. He's betting on me because if I win, it proves general studies students aren't just filler. And if I prove that, maybe they'll take a second look at people like him. Yuda exhaled slowly. So basically, you want me to win so you don't look bad by association. Shinso's lips twitched almost a smirk. Something like that. Yuda gave him a deep look. All right. Fair enough. Well, it's not like he could say anything else. He walked past Shinso, heading deeper into the tunnel. Akudamai. Yuda glanced back. Don't lose to the elite pick. As much as I hate to have to rely on someone else, if you're going to carry the banner for general studies, don't drop it now. Yuda smirked slightly. I don't plan on it. He turned the corner and disappeared into the waiting room corridor. Shinso stayed where he was for a moment, staring at the empty hallway. Then he pushed off the wall and walked back toward the stands. Good luck, Akudamai. In waiting room B, Todoroki sat in silence, staring at the floor. Akudamai Yuda. His brain buzzed with countermeasures and contingency plans. He's fast. This was the only statement Todoroki could give at the moment. From the obstacle course to cavalry battles and one-on-one matches, his opponent had shown nothing but pure speed quirk-wise. Like Iida, but faster and more agile. For a moment, Todoroki was glad that Iida had been his last opponent. The memory of his recipro's sudden burst of speed left him unsettled, even now. If it had been a faster opponent, perhaps he would have truly lost. The memory of Shiozaki's loss appeared fresh in his mind. He's faster than anyone I've faced so far. However, he never actually used that burst speed much. During the race he only used it to get ahead of the robots and ran the rest of the way with normal speed. Even if that's chalked up to not wanting to take first place, it wasn't constant in the cavalry battle. Todoroki frowned. Regardless, I'll lose if he can close the distance. He exhaled. I'll just have to be defensive, and leave no blind spots to exploit. His battle plan was simple. End it quickly. Overwhelm him with ice before he could move. If he dodges the first, then do it again. The speaker crackled. Shoto Todoroki, please report to the arena. Your match will begin shortly. Todoroki walked toward the door, expression cold and focused. Let's finish this. Ladies and gentlemen. Heroes and citizens. We have reached the final 4. It's the match that has the internet divided. The General Studies Anomaly versus the Master of Ice. Present Mix voice exploded through the PA system. From the General Studies Department, the man who disappears in front of your eyes, Yuhute Akudamaith. Yuda stepped into the arena. The cheering was massive, almost like the underdogs in the audience were screaming for a disruption of the status quo. And from the hero course, the man who needs no introduction, the son of the flame hero, all-round genius Shuto Todoroki. Todoroki entered the ring, eyes burning with cold intensity. Midnight raised her whip high, her own excitement palpable. Contestants, ready. Yuda lowered his center of gravity. His heart rate slowed as chakra began to circulate through his legs, reinforcing the muscles for an explosive burst. Todoroki pulled back his right foot, frost covering the concrete. Begin. Todoroki didn't hesitate. He slammed his palm and a massive iceberg erupted from the floor, moving at a speed that dwarfed anything he'd used against Iida. Be it Midnight, Cementos, or the audience, everyone's expressions changed. It's the move he used against Zero. The avalanche of crystal in blue appeared before Yuda in an instant, and engulfed the land where he stood. Ice engulfed the left side of the arena and rose to new heights. In an instant, a structure 50 feet tall nearly soaring over the open ceiling obscured everyone's view of the sky. Class 1D's viewing area had a literal glacier pressed in front of their faces. Holy shit! Kimura exclaimed at the top of his lungs. Hana beside him, felt her legs go weak. You can say that again. The last time, the ice wave had been focused on Class 1A's viewing area. Now it was their turn. Hold on. Where's Yuda? Meanwhile, Todoroki leapt backwards the moment he unleashed his ice storm. The ground beneath him froze as he slid further away upon landing. Crack! Jagged ice spears rose in a circular pattern around him with a wave of his hands. The ice behind him grew higher than the ones in front. Let's see him get past this. This was Todoroki's countermeasures. Now show yourself. His eyes darted across the arena the moment he finished. Barely 3 seconds had elapsed. The audience now barely began to react. This? Again. Where's the kid? Did he get submerged? Class 1A and the rest of the audience were looking for the same thing. Did Todoroki get him? It seems so. I don't see him anywhere. The murmurs of the crowd were automatically ignored. Todoroki's vigilance didn't lessen one bit. Present Mick's eyes were locked onto the iceberg. Todoroki already gets a blow in right away. It seems he's trying to avoid close combat with Yuda with one decisive move. Did it work? Could the match be over already? No, it isn't. Izawa, who hadn't said a word for so long, replied blandly. Todoroki's ice is different from last time. It's aimed. There's also the barriers around him. The kid's being careful of a counterattack. The match isn't over. Hey? Then where's Akudamai? I don't see him down there. Look up. Hey! Crack! A corner of the glacier was smashed into. Everyone turned their heads, only to see a slender chunk of ice shoot out from the ice mass. Straight towards Todoroki. What the? The projectile slammed into a quickly erected ice shield. Todoroki's eyebrows narrowed. I knew it. The sudden change startled the audience. There. No one knew who screamed it first. But everyone followed almost in unison. Heads tilted back and necks cranes. Rows of spectators leaned forward at the same time without realizing it. Eyes focusing in a smashed area previously covered by ice. Midnight's eyes widened first. Oh! A soft ripple shot through the stadium. Up near the very peak of Todoroki's glacier, almost above the arena lights, where frost still billowed off the jagged crown, someone stood upside down. No way! Is he? Holy shit! The kid actually dodged that. Forget the dodge. How's he standing like that? Yuda crouched against the ice, feet planted flat on the vertical surface as if gravity had forgotten about him. Well, that didn't work. His gaze was fixed on Todoroki, who was surrounded with ice shields. Is he really that cautious? Meanwhile, Class 1A stared in disbelief. Oh my quirk! Is he standing upside down? Iida cleaned his glasses and put them back on. He is. But isn't his quirk speed related? I don't know. Isn't it? Come to think of it, I don't ever remember anyone confirming it is. Midoriya scribbled so fast the pen tip nearly tore the page. He's using some kind of adhesion ability. No, it doesn't seem to have any relation to his speed shown. Could he be manipulating force distribution at the point of contact? That's insane. Present Mike nearly choked on his words. Akudamai is on the ceiling of the ice. How did he? When did he? Eraserhead frowned. Is that support gear? Yuda and Todoroki locked eyes. How is he? Suction? Support gear? Todoroki's mind raced. No. It doesn't matter. He's exposed. Now's my. His thoughts had barely finished when Yuda flooded his palm with chakra. And struck the ice by his side. Bang! The glacier crown fractured like glass. Chunks the size of fists and plates broke away. Before gravity could claim them, thin glowing strokes flared across the shard's angular markings that lit up in clean white. Kanji. Finally, projectiles. He swept his arm. The air cracked. Ice bullets rained downward, arcing toward Todoroki like a cluster bombardment. Chapter 49, Dark Horse vs Crown Prince 2. Bang! The ice beside Yuda fractured like glass under a hammer. Chunks the size of fists and plates broke away, each one etched with a faint glowing kanji that hadn't been there a second ago. Scatter, Senbonzakura! He uttered with dramatic flair. A hush rippled through the crowd. Todoroki's eyes widened just slightly. That strength! Yuda swung his am. Ice shards descended towards Todoroki like a cluster bombardment. Trying to blindside me. Clever move. Todoroki reacted instantly. Ice blasted forward with a shift of his right leg, to intercept the coming projectiles. This wasn't just an attack. It was to force him to block, obscuring his vision in the process. In a fight against someone faster than you, taking eyes off the target would be a fatal mistake. Nice try. It won't be that easy to. Yuda's hand shifted. Both attacks had reached the point of collision when FWIP. The descending shards suddenly split into two perfect curves. Bypassing Todoroki's defensive wall with a preternatural arc, before course-correcting through the air like heat seekers. What the? In the stands, Midoriya stood up so abruptly his notebook fell. He changed the trajectory. Incoming! Present Mike screamed. Cornered by the arcing projectiles, Todoroki stomped his right foot. Ice erupted around him, and the barricade surrounding him thickened into a massive, jagged bunker. Crack! 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 The shards slammed into the fortress with the force of mortar shells, but failed to break through. Damn it! With his view obstructed, Todoroki didn't wait. Sensing the moment, Yuda activated body flicker. To the audience, he simply ceased to exist atop the glacier. There he goes again. Yuda emerged from the speed vacuum, appearing directly in front of Todoroki's barricade. Bang! The entire thing exploded. Hey! Yuda quickly stopped as waves of ice rushed towards him, spreading indiscriminately in all directions. This again! His eyes bled into a crimson red. Time slowed. The chaos of the explosion became a frozen map of geometric vectors. With a strained tilt of his head, he let a jagged chunk of ice graze his cheek, missing by a fraction of a millimeter. Then leaped backwards as the rushing ice engulfed his last spot. Todoroki unleashes another massive blast. Yuda's on the retreat. No shit. The moment his legs touched the floor, Yuda disappeared. Todoroki didn't wait to see if the blast hit. He propelled himself backward on a slide of frost, creating distance he knew he desperately needed. Damn it! The muscles on his right side trembled slightly from the cold. A feeling he chose to ignore. That was too close. Just like Iida, he was once again caught off guard. To think he can control long-range projectile. What exactly is his quirk? He skidded to a stop, his eyes darting frantically across the arena. The ring was empty. Then, he looked up. There he was, falling from the sky. What's up with his eyes? Todoroki thrust his arm upward. Wham! A massive ice pillar punched toward the sky. This is Todoroki's chance. Midoriya swallowed. In the air with no leverage, there's no way he can. Seeing the incoming attack, Yuda twisted mid-air, spine bending with inhuman fluidity. That's gonna hurt. The pillar rushed past him by centimeters as he flipped. And swung his arm downward. Shit! Todoroki launched an emergency burst of ice from his legs, skidding sideways across the arena just as Yuda's chakra-reinforced fist struck the frozen earth. Boom! The ground shattered on impact. Todoroki's pupil shrank. Now's my chance. He retaliated instantly. Whoosh! A wide wave of ice barreled toward Yuda. Missed. Yuda thought with annoyance. Watching the approaching attack in slow motion, a wave of chakra spread from his hands onto the cracked debris beneath it. Kanji symbols flickered across every ice and rock his chakra touched. Catch! He flicked his wrist. The shards shot forward in a devastating spread, not just blocking but destroying Todoroki's weakened attack. Todoroki slammed his palms into the ice beneath him, forcing up a thick pillar shield. The barrage hammered into it, cracking its surface like spiderweb glass. However, bang! The ice shield shattered as Yuda closed the distance with body flicker and smashed right through. The shield bore the brunt of it, Todoroki's arms took the rest. The attack sent Todoroki skidding backward across the slippery surface, his heels carving deep grooves into the ice. He broke through that much mass with one hit. Todoroki gasped, cold air searing his lungs. Yuda didn't let up. Ignoring the pain of a repeated body flicker, he lunged through the ice dust created by the shattered shield. He covered the distance between them in the blink of an eye. Todoroki's pupils constricted. The rime on his skin had reached a critical thickness, making his right side too sluggish to respond. His joints were seizing from the cold. In that fraction of a second, the instinct to survive overrode every vow Shoto Todoroki had made to himself. Vroom! A roar like a jet engine ignited the center of the arena. Stay back! For the second time since the festival began, a violent surge of orange and red heat exploded from Todoroki. He used his left side. Class 1A thought collectively. The sudden expansion of air created a pressure wave that slammed into Yuda mid-strike. Boom! The collision of chakra-reinforced force and white-hot ignition turned the stadium into a steamer. Mist erupted as the glacier crown partially melted and shattered simultaneously. The shockwave sent both figures flying toward opposite ends of the arena. Yuda skidded, digging his fingers into the concrete to stop himself, the heat singing his uniform. Todoroki landed hard, sliding on the slush. The arena went silent. Steam drifted through the broken landscape, leaving the scorched ground visible for the first time since the blast. Thud. Todoroki fell on one knee, releasing light pants. On his right side, the traces of ice evaporated rapidly. Ugh! He looked at his left hand, heat radiating off the skin and aggressively pushing back the frostbite. Damn it! His fists clenched tightly. I did it again. In the stands, the silence was broken by a sudden, jarring sound. Endeavor, the number 2 hero, stood upright. His own flames flared in a maniacal surge as his face twisted into a grin that looked less like pride and more like a predator who had finally seen its prey cornered. Yes, he thought, the word vibrating through his entire being. Finally, you accept it. All around the arena, the crowd erupted. He used his left side. That was fire, right? Todoroki has fire. I thought he only used ice. Is this the power of Endeavor's son? The scene was broadcasted throughout the country. The eruption of heat replayed on the stadium screens from 4 different angles at once. Class 1A reacted in a chaotic chorus. This is insane. He actually forced him to use it. Zero uttered. Hard to believe. He's only used his left side one throughout the entire festival. And it was against the same person. Mo's face was solemn. Todoroki said he'd never use his left side in the cavalry battle. To think he'd be forced to go against it. Are you kidding? This guy's shown so many abilities that I can't tell what's his actual quirk. Kaminari leaned forward like a fan watching a blockbuster. Bros built differently, I'm telling you. Jiro slapped his arm. Now is not the time to be impressed. Midoriya's notebook remained forgotten on the floor. Todoroki used fire again, because of Yuda. That means Yuda pushed him past his mental threshold. That's not something even I managed. His gaze turned to Bakugo who was watching the match intently. Just how strong is we have a major development. Todoroki Shoto has activated his left side. His flame side. The arena temperature just spiked by 20 degrees. I cannot believe what I am seeing right now. Present Mike announced. Aizawa, half wrapped in his capture cloth, stared with a very slight narrowing of his eyes. So he dragged that kid past his mental barrier. Without provoking him. He exhaled. This match is getting dangerously high level. In the VIP staff seats. All Might's face turned grim. That level of power, neither of them are playing around. And young Akutami still moving after that blow. His brows drew together. He's sturdier than I expected. The teachers murmured among themselves. Quite the power display. Yet. With this kind of quirk, how the hell did he end up in general studies? Beats me. Own choice maybe. This match is turning into pre than a tournament bout. If he hadn't used his left, Todoroki would have probably lost. Match is not over yet though. Back on the field. Todoroki staggered upright, flames still burning. I did it again. He panted hard. His chest heaved. I promised myself I wouldn't rely on that side. He swallowed, a bitter knot tightening in his throat. Shoto. Chapter 50 Dark Horse vs Crown Prince 3. Shoto. The single bellow shook the stadium more violently than any explosion so far. The crowd froze mid-discussions. Present Mike blinked, halfway through a sentence. Where did that come from? Todoroki didn't need to look. His shoulders locked reflexively at the voice that had haunted his entire childhood. Heads turned, section by section, until every eye in the arena landed on Endeavor. The flames around his face burned brighter than they had all day. A grin split his features, one that had absolutely nothing to do with pride. Have you finally accepted your purpose? Endeavor didn't wait. He descended the concrete stairs step by thundering step. That's it, very good. This is the dawn of a new era for us. Spectators shrank back to give him room till he reached the barrier separating the audience from the field. With my blood in your veins, you will surpass me. You will live out the purpose for which I created you. The words hit Todoroki harder than the blast he had just released. The flames on his left side sputtered just a little as his jaw clenched. In the audience, a dozen phones captured Endeavor's declaration, recording history. The crowd began cheering once again with excitement. Present Mike fumbled for his mic, scrambling to fill the silence. "W-O. Aeon, there's Endeavor. Looks like the number 2 hero's giving his, fatherly encouragement to young Todoroki down below. Father-son bonding at its, hottest? Haha, too soon? Too soon, Aizawa. Someone get security down there. If Endeavor steps past that railing, I'm expelling him from the premises myself." Aizawa muttered, though his gaze never left the ring. Todoroki's face darkened. Hidden beneath his lowered head were clenched teeth and tightened fists. "You damn basta!" Crack! A faint sound cut through the roiling steam. Todoroki snapped his head toward it. In the distance, Yuda was rising. Slowly. "Tch. Damn Endeavor. Here I thought I could win this on a counter if he attacked." He stood to his feet, eyes narrowed in annoyance. "Ugh. That last strike actually hurt though. I was too careless." The stadium noise dipped as the monitors zoomed in. The crowd winced in unison. His appearance was a jagged contrast to the pristine image he'd held all day. Half his uniform was scorched black with one sleeve being burned entirely. His left arm was a road map of angry red blisters, and a raw burn mark trailed from his cheek toward his jawline. "Oh my god! Ouch! That's gotta sting. Guess he didn't come out unscathed from that last one." In a Hinohara apartment, a glass fell. Eri's eyes filled with tears as she clutched Aiko's arm. "Why, Yuda?" Aiko held her and comforted. He's okay, dear, he'll be fine once this match is over, okay?" In Class 1D's viewing area, Hana stood up, fists over her chest. "Yuda." Kimura swallowed hard. That heat must have been insane. "It's fine though. He'll be good as new once he goes to recovery girl's office." "Maybe. But those burns are gonna hinder him for the rest of the match." The camera zoomed in. Akudamai Yuda is still standing. But he's taken considerable burn damage from that blast. "Look at his arm and wait, camera, can you get a close-up on his face?" The screen flickered, showing Yuda's face in high definition. His eyes. Is that another part of his quirk? They certainly weren't that red before, were they? The commentary caught the attention of the crowd. Todoroki's brows furrowed. "It seemed my eyes didn't deceive me earlier." He ignored the roaring endorsement from his father, his focus entirely on the scorched boy in front of him. Speed, strength, that weird thing with the ice, and now this. There's no way his quirk is speed-based. That's probably just one application. But I don't know what the core principle is, so I won't be able to guess if he has anything else up his sleeve. Still, to think I'd be pushed to this point. His fists clenched. With the thought, the flames on his left side extinguished. Endeavor's grinning face turned dark. "What is he doing? What are you doing, Shoto? This is your chance. Your flames have burned his arm and weakened his fighting ability. You can easily win this." "No. The last time was an accident. I've already decided to win with my ice alone." His words caused murmurs to spread through the audience. Todoroki didn't care. It doesn't matter how strong he is. His eyes grew determined. "I'll win without his quirk." In the distance, Yuda's brows furrowed. "Win hui." Honestly, with their battle putting him clearly at a disadvantage, he didn't expect Todoroki to still be so stubborn. It seemed, without a strong enough ideological contrast, he wouldn't change his mind. In canon, this was exactly what Midoriya had done. By presenting his goals and motivations to reach the top, alongside the possibility of his own loss, only then was Todoroki enlightened. Fine then. Unfortunately, Yuda couldn't care less. Without Midoriya, Todoroki's internal conflict was destined to remain much longer than it should have. After all, he wasn't Midoriya, nor did he have any desire to strengthen his enemy. Through the focused clarity of his vision, the stadium lights stopped glaring, and the crowd became a distant hum. To the onlookers, he was staring blankly at his charred arm. In reality, thermal damage to the papillary layer. High level of inflammation. "I just need to force cellular turnover." His pupils tracked the burn lines. The blistering. The tissue damage. Microscopic details Todoroki couldn't even imagine. Then, his quirk already activated to numb the pain, went to work again. With the consumption of chakra, the burns began to recede at a rapid pace. The raw tissue on his cheek smoothed over, turning from an angry red to a clear tan. The scorched, dead skin flaked off his arm like ash in a breeze, revealing flawless, pink tissue underneath that quickly hardened into his original complexion. Much better. Yuda thought at the view of his arm. Now let's see the effect it has on the audience. He didn't raise his gaze, but the silence all around said everything. Inside the broadcast booth, the mic went dead for 3 full seconds. What? Present Mike shrieked, slamming his headphones against the desk. Did he just regenerate? The replay confirmed. Ladies and gentlemen, is that healing? Rapid, full recovery healing. On top of everything else. What is this kid's quirk made of? The crowd went into a fever pitch. He healed. He can heal. No way. How many abilities does this guy have? In the nurse's office, Recovery Girl watched the broadcast while sitting on her cozy chair. Humph. Looks like some benefit came out of his near-death experience. Though something is definitely wrong with his quirk. Todoroki stood with his mouth open, sharing the shock and disbelief in the audience. He healed? In an instant. What kind of quirk is that? Yuda flexed his fingers in the arena. Now then, what were you saying? Todoroki's expression hardened. What kind of quirk do you have? It's a secret. Though I can make an exception and let you know after my victory. Todoroki's features darkened even further. You're implying I'll lose. Yuda raised an eyebrow. And you're implying you'll beat me at half power, when you've already lost. Todoroki's breath caught for a fraction of a second. What? In response, Yuda pointed a finger towards him. For some reason, Todoroki felt a chill ran up his spine. Without warning, he fired an ice blast towards Yuda. Watching the attack, Yuda placed both hands in his pockets just as the ice wave reached him. What's he? Todoroki's thought was cut short by a violent displacement of air. He didn't see the threat, but he felt the sudden, high-velocity rush coming from his blind spot. Behind him, a block of ice aimed for the back of Todoroki's skull with surgical precision. Chapter 51: The End of the Semifinals. Todoroki barely tilted his head when, thwack! The sound of the collision was hidden beneath the roar of his ice attack. Bang! The surging wave of ice stopped less than 10 centimeters away from Yuda's body. Checkmate! Yuda inhaled. For Todoroki, however, everything lurched sideways. What? The thought barely formed when pain exploded across the back of Todoroki's skull. His vision blurred instantly, colors bleeding together, shapes distorting. I got hit. His balance vanished. When? How? The arena tilted sideways. Thud. His knees hitting the concrete before he slumped to the floor. Todoroki's body went limp as he fell to the ground face first. The stadium was seized by a stupefying silence. Be it those in their seats or those watching on the screens, the sudden halt of Todoroki's attack, the bizarre nature of the knockout, left the entire crowd suspended in disbelief. Then, murmurs rippled through the stands. Did he just get knocked out? What hit him? Was that ice? Where did it even come from? Present mix was uncharacteristically subdued. Folks. I think Todoroki just got hit. From behind. By his own ice? The match might most likely be over. Aizawa's eyes narrowed. So his quirk really can control objects. But from the looks of it, it's not pure telekinesis. His gaze fell on Todoroki. He started well, but unfortunately, Todoroki's vigilance wore off. Then turned his gaze to someone else. Though that can't be blamed on him entirely. In the VIP section, Endeavor stood rigid. His son, his greatest masterpiece, lay face down on the concrete, unconscious and defeated. By a brick of his own ice? Unacceptable. Instantly, his expression curdled, flames flaring so violently that the spectators not far away flinched. Get up, Shoto! Don't disgrace yourself like this! His fists clenched so hard the armrest beneath his hand splintered. Midnight stood frozen, whip half raised. She looked at Todoroki's crumpled form, then up at the ice chunk resting peacefully behind him. Shoto, Todoroki is unable to continue. Her voice trembled slightly at the sheer absurdity of the finish. The winner is... Just then, Todoroki's body twitched. Midnight stopped. The entire stadium, focused on the referee, immediately turned back to the fallen student. Todoroki's fingers curled against the concrete. Then his arm shifted. He's moving. Someone whispered in the crowd. No way after that hit. Is his skull made of metal? Even Yuda's raised an eyebrow in slight disbelief. He's still conscious. Todoroki's body trembled. His hand pressed flat against the ground, pushing. Slowly agonizingly he forced himself upright. Endeavor's cloudy face eased. He's still awake. Present Mike yelled. Ladies and gentlemen, Shoto Todoroki isn't out of the match yet. Todoroki struggled to push himself up. His vision was a chaotic swirl of color and light, head pounding with a dull, throbbing pain. The tingling at the back of his skull was the only coherent sensation. He hadn't lost consciousness entirely, but his state was barely functional. It's not over. Todoroki uttered while looking down. I haven't lost yet. Meanwhile. Damn it. This is bad. While his words may sound tough, his current situation was anything but. As in front of him, with he saw wasn't one Yuda Akutami but 9. My vision's no good. Forget winning. I can't even fight like this. From the stands, Endeavor leaned over the railing. Use your left side. Do it, Shoto. The boy remained unresponsive. Endeavor gritted his teeth. Do you really want to lose now? After coming so far? Fight. Fight? I'll probably fall if it take one more. Whoosh. A blur of wind and speed shot past his ear. Todoroki's eyes widened, his body activating his right side on instinct, when he felt a force landing on his neck. Instantly, the world darkened. The last coherent thoughts he could muster was incomparably bitter. I lost. In the arena, everyone watched as Todoroki dropped for the second time. This time, there was no chance he would get back up. Midnight swung her whip up. The winner is Yuda Akutami. The medical robots zoomed onto the field while the official announcement ignited the arena. Cheers and roars erupted from the audience. Regulars and pro heroes alike. He did it. Present Mike screamed, his voice strained with genuine excitement. The General Studies Dark Horse has defeated the Crown Prince of UA. An instant knockout. A clever, tactical win. In the VIP section, Endeavor didn't move. His flames burning so intensely that anyone would think he was about to explode. The sheer humiliation of the loss defeated by his own son's stubbornness and a cheap trick was clearly boiling inside him. Down below, Yuda finally exhaled as his eyes returned to normal. This would have been so much easier if I could use genjutsu. He flicked toward Todoroki's unconscious body as the medical bots scanned him. Stubborn bastard. I honestly thought he'd stay down the first time. His attention came back to the thunderous applause from the audience. People jumped to their feet. Chants began spiraling through the stands. Akutami! 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 Cameras flashed from every direction. The spotlight locked onto Yuda, who after a brief moment, broke out of his daze and waved. In Class 1A, the reactions varied. Kaminari, pick up your jaw, Jiro muttered. I can't. It's stuck. Kaminari squeaked, leaning forward in disbelief. Yurika clapped a hand over her mouth. He really won. I can't believe Todoroki lost. Well, nothing is impossible it seems. Iida uttered solemnly. Todoroki's loss wasn't unjustified. Right. So is no one going to talk about the thing with Endeavor and refusing to use his fire side? Midoriya wasn't listening. Todoroki's lost. His gaze turned to the sea Bakugo standing and leaving the viewing area. He remembered Bakugo's last words on their first battle training concerning Todoroki. Then I saw the guy with the ice and I realized. I couldn't beat him. It had been nearly a month since then. I wonder what you think now. Kachin. The audience devolved into murmurs on the last battle as Cementos began clearing out the ice. None of this had anything to do with Yuda, who headed back into the tunnel towards Recovery Girl's office. Great. Now I need a new uniform. Yuda thought, peeling away the charred remains of his left sleeve. The skin beneath was perfectly fine. A testament to his quirk's chakra-powered ability. He didn't need an examination. Apparently, Recovery Girl didn't care about his opinions when it came to personal health. Midnight's orders came right after the match to head to the nurse's office. Met. No harm done anyway. She'd probably chew him out for overusing his healing factor and then kiss his non-existent injury anyway. I wonder what Mom and Eri think. They must have been worried sick when I got hit by the fire. I should give them a call. He turned a corner toward the medical wing. The hallway was brightly lit, and perfectly empty except for one figure. Standing directly in the middle of the corridor, blocking the route to the infirmary, was Endeavor. Yuda paused, his good mood evaporating. Well, this can't be good. The number 2 hero was massive. His armor-like suit gleaming under the fluorescent lights and his face was devoid of the wide grin he had when Todoroki unleashed his flames. Akudamaya Yuda, Endeavor finally spoke. His voice lower and harsher than he probably intended it to. I have questions I want you to answer about your quirk. Back in the arena, the crowd detonated with noise. Present Mick's voice thundered across the stadium. Alright everyone, this is it. The final match of the semifinals. Bakugo walked out first, feral expression nowhere to be seen. From the opposite tunnel, Tokoyami emerged. The audience roared, stomping, chanting, vibrating the whole arena. Present Mike practically screamed into the mic. The winner of this match will advance to face Yuda Akudamai in the finals. Bakugo rolled his shoulders. Tokoyami's arms remained folded. Midnight lifted her whip. Combatants ready. The stadium held its breath. Present Mike leaned forward. Chapter 52 NG Todoroki. Semi-finals. Match start. The arena exploded. Boom. Bakugo didn't waste a nanosecond. He launched himself across the concrete the instant Midnight cracked her whip. Tokoyami slid back, boots grinding against the arena floor as dark shadows surged out to meet the assault. Wham! Black talons intercepted Bakugo's outstretched arm, sparks and shadow clashing in midair. Bakugo snarled more animal than human and spun with the recoil, blasting himself up and over. Don't think I'm letting you stall me. Humph! Dark shadow, defend! Explosions resounded throughout the arena as Bakugo and Tokoyami engaged. The battle sent excitement through the crowd as their roars shook the stadium. However, in the tunnel, the thunderous boom from the arena was the only sound accompanying the tense silence in the corridor. Yuda felt the explosion rattle the concrete floor beneath his feet, a useful reminder of the ongoing threat he was walking toward. Great! Just what I needed. He forced his shoulders to relax, but his heartbeat didn't get the memo. What the hell does he want? Revenge for Shoto? A warning? Or was he going to intimidate him into forfeiting the finals? One thing was certain. Endeavor looking for him was never a good thing. Having only watched up to Season 4 of My Hero from his previous life, Yuda's impression of the Flame Hero was in no way favorable. Akudamaya Yuda, Endeavor finally spoke, his voice more menacing than he intended. Tell me about your quirk. Yuda raised an eyebrow. Is that an invitation to join your agency, or a formal interrogation, sir? Do I need a lawyer? Endeavor didn't acknowledge the sarcasm. His gaze dropped to Yuda's arm, then back to his face. Twice. You forced Shoto to use his other half subconsciously, Endeavor stated. It says a lot about your strength. And in watching you, I've noticed your power doesn't fit the regular classification of most quirks. Is that so? Yes. You've shown 5 different sub-abilities so far that seem to have nothing to do with each other. Tell me. What exactly is the core of your power? He took a slow step forward, the temperature in the corridor climbing sharply. Tell me the parameters of your quirk, Endeavor commanded, his eyes burning with proprietary intensity. I need to know the capabilities of the power that stands in the way of my son. A silence stretched, broken only by the muffled roar of the crowd far away. Until then, thud. 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 Yuda casually dropped his shoulders and resumed walking past Endeavor, heading toward the faint red glow of the nurse's office sign. Endeavor's body stiffened, his flames flaring momentarily brighter from the shock of the dismissal. Where are you going? He demanded. Yuda shrugged. I was called to the nurse's office. You aren't deaf or something, are you? Didn't you hear my question? Yuda stopped a few paces away, his back still to the pro-hero. His brows shot up. Hey? Oh, that. I did. Endeavor frowned. Then why don't you answer? He shrugged. Well, it sounded like a stupid-ass question, really. So I elected to ignore it. Endeavor's face darkened, the fire around his jaw intensifying. Are you mocking me, brat? Not really, Yuda replied honestly. I mean, why would anyone answer that? He gestured. Demanding personal information about my quirk? In a sports festival? From a hero I've never met? That's just dumb. And weird. He tilted his head. Most pro heroes don't reveal the specifics of their quirks, right? Kind of seems like common sense. Endeavor released a nasal grunt. I am the flame hero, Endeavor. Do you truly believe I would use your information to sabotage you? To sell you out? Yuda blinked innocently. Don't you want the information to make sure I never stand in Shoto's way again? You know his destiny to surpass you and all that. The heat in the corridor suddenly became unbearable. Endeavor's eyes were blazing. Where did you learn that? You practically said it while we were fighting, remember? With my blood in your veins, you'll surpass me. You will live up to the reason I created you, or something like that. Well, I guess I'm right. From Yuda's understanding, NG Todoroki's motivation was purely legacy and his position as the number 2 hero. So it's pride and ego. Todoroki was his masterpiece. It was one thing to be beaten by another student. It was another to be beaten by someone not even in the hero course. A kid from general studies doing it must have been upsetting. Worst still, it wasn't close. While not an instant kill, Todoroki had been mostly on the defensive the entire fight. Only landing the first hit after being forced to use his left side in an unexpected attack. Even then, Yuda had easily healed from the burns. Such a performance from a kid with no training made Yuda a variable. One Endeavor wouldn't tolerate being outside his knowledge base after witnessing it. His demand for Yuda's quirk information was to determine whether Yuda had the potential to be a problem and how to train Shoto to curb that problem. You defeated my son, Endeavor hissed, taking another heavy step. If you possess a power that can negate the flames of my lineage, I have a right to understand it. He paused, seemingly thinking of something. Of course I won't let your troubles go unrewarded. Your goal must be to join the hero course. I'll send an internship offer for you once this is done. You'll have the opportunity to intern with Shoto alongside me to learn what it means to be a true hero. Yuda blinked again. Was that supposed to be a benefit? Does Endeavor think too highly of himself, or is it just me? Well, early-stage Todoroki's attitude had to come from somewhere, right? This guy must be delusional. Forgive me. But my quirk is none of your business. Yuda shook his head. And besides, even if you weren't planning anything shady, it's still a stupid question. Endeavor's flame snapped violently at that, but Yuda remained unmoved. Well, it was a pleasure to speak to the number 2 hero. He said with slight emphasis and an innocent smile. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to get medically bullied by an old lady. Goodbye. Yuda waved and kept walking. The hallway turned into an oven. You brat! Endeavor roared, the sound magnified by the narrow concrete corridor. He stepped forward. The temperature spiked 40, 50 degrees in an instant. Yuda felt sweat bead on his neck. But he didn't stop walking. Careful, Endeavor, he said without looking back. Threatening students on UA property is a bad look. Especially after your son just lost. Endeavor's flame sputtered violently, his massive frame trembling from the insult and the near violation of hero law. He had expected terror, submission, or at least a frantic dodge. He got a casual admonishment. Watch your tongue, boy. I will not take this disrespect. Or what? Silence engulfed the tunnel. I see we have the same answer. Now I am going to the finals, Mr. Endeavor. I won't be joining your agency in the future. And I won't be giving you a cheat sheet. Now, if you attempt to physically assault me again, I will not simply walk away. Yuda didn't wait for a response. He turned and resumed walking, leaving the towering, enraged hero standing alone in the overheated corridor, his flames roaring silently in frustration.
Thanks for listening.